Hey, what's up, everybody? Just shot a really special episode of Angles with the one and only Conway The Machine, Buffalo's own superstar rapper. You guys are going to love this one. I don't care what you're into, if you're into rap or not. You're going to love to hear about his story, about his process, about his inspiration. We talked about a lot of things that I'm not sure he's really ever talked about, or maybe if he has, I'm not aware of it. I think you're going to love it. So check it out. Let us know what you think. And as always, this episode is brought to you by Richmond Bona Personal Injury Attorneys. We hope you never need us, but if you do, we got your back. Dude, thanks for being here.
No doubt.
I appreciate it. I was pretty excited to have you on, and I was just kind of thinking about like, hey, what do I want to talk to you about? And I was like, I'm just kind of curious, like hearing about your life growing up here in Buffalo. Obviously, your brother, your cousin, West Side Gun, and then Benny the Butcher. Like, what was life like growing up here in Buffalo?
It was awesome. I love being from Buffalo. There's no place I'd rather be from. You know what I mean? There's no place like home. I've been fortunate to travel some beautiful places throughout my career, and I can always say that there's no place like home. So I'm a proud Buffalonian. I
love that because I think too, obviously you're tremendously successful. Like everyone, in the rap game knows who you are. You have gosh knows how many fans. Yeah. I think a lot of people in your position would maybe have moved away. Like, what keeps you here? Like, why do you love it here so much?
I got good access to some good marijuana.
Yes.
Realistically though, like I got a lot of my family, a lot of them still here. My mom and stuff, my children. I still have with the Drumwork Fest and the Conway Cares Foundation, and actually built Drumwork Music Group here, so the label is kind of based here too, the office. So I don't know, man. It's just like I said, it's probably nowhere I'd rather be. So I'm sure I'll move and get some cribs in other cities, other countries, but I'm always gonna be based and rooted in Buffalo.
I love that. I think you're seeing a little bit more of that these days. I mean, Buffalo has changed a lot. We were talking about it a little bit before we got going. We were talking about sports, but Buffalo has changed a lot, right? And it's pretty cool to see people like yourself who are like, hey, I'm going to, keep coming back here, keep my roots here, even if you are going to spend some time other places,
Right. I think it's important. Keep you grounded. And for me, it helped me, still be able to have stuff to write about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I take long drives through the city, and I get inspired still by just everything with the city. You know what I mean? So majority of my music is for me just taking long drives and getting inspiration from the concrete, from the soil.
I love that. And I'm definitely going to talk to you about that. I'm really, really curious to hear about kind of like your creative process, like where you get your inspiration, how you write. Mm-hmm. Before I get there, though, I would love to know kind of, again, like, did you always know that you wanted to be an artist? Like what was it like in the early years for you?
Yeah, since a kid, man, since I was old enough to remember, I just remember, this is what I wanted. My uncles was big time hip hop heads. So, once I started hearing and got exposed to it, my Uncle Anthony he was the biggest hip hop fan that I've ever known, still to this day. And he would have this is like in the Walkman era. You know what I mean?
I remember.
So he would have every tape, every cassette tape, man, by the hundreds. And this one, I was heavy on West Coast. Like the West Coast was winning big time then. So I was a big MC8, Spice One fan, you know what I mean? Guys like that from that era, Dr. Dre, you know what I mean? Cube, Ice-T, that's the stuff that kind of, shaped and honed everything. But to answer your question, man, I can remember being 4 or 5 years old, 6 years old, kicking freestyles and stuff from my uncles. They'd be smoking joints and stuff. Like, come here, man. Spit something. My rap name was Lil Fresh.
That's
back
awesome.
then. You know what I mean?
Awesome.
Yo, Fresh, come here, man. Rap for them. Show them. Listen, bro. I'd be rapping for their friends and stuff at 6 years old. And I just always knew that this was what I wanted to do, and this was what I was gonna do.
You know, you're a real, like, you're surgical, you know, with your lyrics. I mean, you're a craftsman, right? It's a craft that you build up for many, many, many years.
Yeah.
I'm curious, like, how you would describe it. Is it like, it just maybe from an early age, does it come natural to you? Or is there like something that you really had to like kind of work at? I'm just kind of curious, like, the progression of it.
Probably might be a little of both, but I feel like you gotta have a little, like, maybe gifted a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You
For
got
sure.
to be a little gifted. But I mean, you know, I like to always read. I was a reader.
Mm-hmm.
I was a listener, and I would study. I would study the greats. You know what I mean? Like, I would study like Cool G Rap and, you know, Prodigy and Guru, Gangstar, like people that I would study, and I still do right now to this day. Like, you know what I mean? I would study and not just listening to it, you know, for the enjoyment of it being a great album, a great record, but for me I'm listening. When I listen to music, I'm listening to like how they did what they did. Like, what did he just do with that line? Like, that was ill. You know what I mean? Like, if it was like, you know, we was talking like the basketball, sports, football, I was more the analytic guy than you know, on the field eye test. I'm looking at how ill they put it together versus what they did. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I was able to use some of that and apply that and what I was already gifted, my already gifted abilities, and, you know, make it mesh.
That's interesting you say that, because, you know, I was recently like reading something about, I think it was one of the guys on the Bills, and someone was asking them like, oh, like, are you watching the playoffs after they got eliminated? And he was explaining that for a lot of guys, watching football is tough because they're just thinking about like the X's and the O's, the analytics, and they have a hard time enjoying it sometimes.
Yeah.
Is that kind of similar to you with listening to music, or can you turn off, like, let's say, like the analytical brain and just like enjoy it like on a drive or something?
I can. Sometimes it's tough. I ain't gonna lie, but I can though. Not usually. I mostly do now that I'm getting older. I do now. I just enjoy music, you know, for what it is. Like, I'm not trying to, because I'm already in it. You know what I mean? And I've already been doing it for, you know, a handful of years. So, you know, I feel like, okay, now it's my turn to just be as best as I could be, so people could take from what I've done. You know what I mean? Like I did when I was younger.
Yep.
And so I still, you know, get joy from it. But, you know, if the shit whack is whack, and I ain't, you know, it gets no play in my ride.
I love it. When you in your early years, I know you mentioned some of the people that you took inspiration from. Is there either, you know, one artist or one style, or just maybe like a lesson that you think about that maybe had a big impact on you and kind of like who you are today?
3.
Okay.
Jay-Z, 50 Cent, Eminem. You know what I mean? I say Jay-Z because in 50, well, you know, with Jay-Z, I'll tell you each one by one.
I love it. Yep.
Like with Jay-Z, coming from like, I feel like we had a lot of identical, you know what I'm saying, journey to getting there. Of course, I'm nowhere near as famous and rich as Jay-Z, but meaning like, you know, he was a high school dropout, single parent household, you know, was told no, you know, 400 times before he was told yes. You know what I mean? Really had to navigate through all of that and figure out a way to still get on and still do his thing. And it turned out to, you know, revolutionaries in the game with dumping the money on the desk, going to the office, and just really, you know, showing you how to independently fund your own projects and stuff. So that, you know, I took that was important for me, because coming from Buffalo, you get that feeling of like we didn't even get a chance to be told no, because there's no record labels and nothing here, no offices that we can go to and play our demo. So I mean, I would have loved to even just heard 40 no's. At least I know, like, okay, I'm getting closer.
Right.
But, you know, coming from where we were, Buffalo, I just kind of identify with that, being a high school dropout, single parent household from the, you know, the trenches of Buffalo. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I resonated with that. Same thing with 50 Cent. Like he was, dropped from a label. Had it tough in the streets. You know what I mean? Heavy indulged in the streets, and it was a tough journey to make it out and doing what he do to be the source of inspiration. Of course, getting shot a bunch of times and still turning that around with his this physical.
Yeah.
You know the word I'm looking for, but
I know what you're talking about.
Turning that shit around and still being able to become the mogul that he is, and then Eminem being, I can imagine how tough that journey was too, being like the white rapper growing up in coming up in the mid 90s and stuff.
Yeah.
Like you really had to really be nice and show and prove, and I feel like it was easy for those guys to just stop, throwing the towel, get discouraged, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And they push through.
That that's really interesting, hearing you talk about, I mean, I didn't even think about that, the fact that like you didn't even have the opportunity to be told no.
Yeah.
But still, you were fighting a battle, right? Like you're up against all these odds, and you just kept pushing, where I think I'm not just saying this because you're sitting here, I think like a lot of people just give up, right?
Yeah.
What kept you moving?
I don't know the answer to that, man. I think I just wanted it. I just wanted it bad. I think I've gotten to a place where I kind of was like, I was giving up. You know what I mean? I didn't realize it then, but just looking back, I feel like I was getting to a point where I was giving up, slowly but surely. And this was when I had got shot in the head. I just felt like it was like, because it was so tough for me to you know what I mean, to pronounce words and to actually just sound like I used to sound. Like I was so caught up in that, like, man, it don't sound like that, and it was some tough nights with that, and I don't know, man. I don't know what made me keep going, but I was right on the brinks of I was hanging on the roof with one hand and losing my grip, and I was on the brinks of letting go, and then the music just started hitting, and we was recording that stuff, at Danger House in North Buffalo, and then that gave us a new, like, wait a minute, we on to something now. Maybe they starting to get this now, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we didn't start taking our stuff on the road and going to, like, to New York City and L.A. and all that until, me and Wes, our stuff was kind of already popping, you know what I mean? He had his tapes out. I think he had, like, 2 tapes out. I had a tape, you know what I mean? It was already like, chatter around the record label offices to like, yo, some guys out of Buffalo that's nice that we need to, let's check out, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And once I seen that, I'm like, okay, it's time to actually turn it up more now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you produce at a really high level.
Yeah.
Like you produce a lot too.
Yeah.
And you can tell that like you're not just putting it out there to put it out there. Like you care a lot about the quality.
100%.
When you going back to when you got shot, I think most people know about the story, but yeah, I can't even imagine how hard that was. I mean, you're already fighting this uphill battle, being from Buffalo, and then this happens.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about maybe like how that you use that as almost like an opportunity, and it almost helped you like kind of emerge out of like maybe this place where you thought you were going to quit?
Yeah. I don't know, man. It kind of discouraged me. Like I said, like I didn't see the opportunity in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I never thought that people would, champion my story and gravitate to like being fans of mine. Like sometimes it still blows my mind, man. Like, I'll be somewhere and, at a show in Rome, Italy, and at the meet and greet, a guy will roll up his sleeve and show me a tattoo on my face, a portrait, or, you know what I mean?
That's gotta be awesome.
On the side of buildings in Romania and stuff like that, on trains in Japan. It's like the thing that bothered me the most, you know what I mean? That it was tough for me to look at myself, look in the mirror and like accept that, that my face was gonna be half paralyzed, like for who knows long, probably forever. It was just kind of, it was just, and even still with people, loving it and fucking with it still was fucking with me. It still was like, man, I think about what could have been, but then I think about like, you know, what I'm tripping for, you know what I mean? Like, it's always a blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
Sometimes you gotta, you know, some things is part of the journey, man. You gotta go through stuff, and maybe I needed to go through that so my story and everything I've been through can be a source of inspiration. Or, you know what I mean? I could be a beacon of light for some other up and coming artists who think they got it hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it sounds like obviously your album "God Don't Make Mistakes." I mean, that's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah, 100%.
You chose to look at it as like, hey, you know, I wasn't supposed to die.
Yeah.
Like, I'm supposed to be here.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it made you, like, not that you weren't already, but a new level of like mental toughness.
Yeah. Mental toughness, mental maturity, and just kind of having a new perspective on, you know, what my purpose is in this. You know, it's not just for me to just be, you know, being able to kick some dope rhymes. Like, it's about more. Like, I'm different. I'm in a different place. You know what I mean? I have to lead. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Was there like maybe a specific moment, you know, after you got shot and like you started to work through that, right? And then you realized, like you're saying, like, hey, we're onto something here. You know, this makes me unique. Like, this is, you know, people still love me for who I am and are supporting me. Was like a moment where you're like, oh wow, like I can actually take this thing to the next level now?
It was. I think the moment probably was like when probably like when we was just the love we was getting in New York on like satellite radio and stuff like that. That was like, okay, I think we about to take off, go to the next level. And like I say, like, you know, we was never really trying to like get a deal, like record deal, none of that. We had already put it in our mind, like, man, ain't nobody dealing with us and messing with us. Like, we out of here. We just do it ourselves. Cause once, like, so let me back up. So once when I told you, like, okay, we hearing them songs, Wes got a couple tapes out, I got a tape out, it's gaining traction. Then, you know, we went to New York looking for, you know, we like, it's getting too crazy right now. We need to get somebody, we need manager now. We need management. And, you know, we went and we shopped around for some deals too, and we got told a couple no's, not 40, but that's when, you know, nah, man, we don't want to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
A few labels, I ain't going to say none of their names or throw them on a bus, but this my camera? I told you so.
I love it.
But anyway, so they were just telling us no, and we just was like, we didn't want to sign nobody anyway. And that's how we ended up, you know, meeting Paul Rosenberg, and ended up walking out of there with a partner, like a deal with Shady, with Eminem.
Yeah. That's got to be crazy coming full
So
circle.
that was that moment for me right there. It's like, yep, we told y'all, we in.
That's awesome. That's got to be nuts too. Like, you're talking about growing up, like, you know, watching Eminem, and then all of a sudden you're signed to, you're working with Shady Records. That's crazy, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Does it's got to be pretty humbling, like, you know, like you're talking about when you're traveling the world and, you know, seeing your face on literally on people's bodies, or like you said, on the side of trains or whatever. But it sounds like, yeah, again, like you stay pretty like grounded through all of this. Like, I think a lot of people would like maybe let that get to their heads. It's interesting that I guess I give you credit for being able to do that.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, I mean, it's not nothing that I honestly put any thought to. I think maybe, you know, I guess it's just my character. You know, my grandmother kind of raised me to be that way, and I just kind of my personality is I try to never get too high on myself. You know what I mean? Like,
smart. I
feel like there's always room for improvement. I don't feel like I made my best song yet or my best album yet, and you know, man, I'm still a regular guy. You know, like my fans, and I love that they kind of feel that when they're around me and they meet me and stuff. It's like, man, it's really a cool dude, you know?
Yeah.
That's important to me.
I think you know, it's interesting, like people who are like at the level, like a really high level in a game like you are, it doesn't matter kind of what it is. It could be like in different types of business. It could be, you know, you're talking about in the rap game, like whatever it is. Yeah. But it's like people like you like never stop trying to be better.
Right.
Like you never stop. Do you ever think about like where that comes from, or like what drives you to continue to put out your best work and constantly try to be better, constantly listen to the songs and to other people's songs and figure out like, what did they do there? How can I take this and learn from it and be better? Like where does that come from?
Man, that's a great question. I have no idea. I would probably say delusion.
You gotta be a little crazy.
Yeah, you gotta
right?
be a little crazy. Think about like, somebody like Mark Cuban or something. They still working. They still doing deals, and they got a shit ton of billions and stuff. Like it don't stop you. You know what I mean? Like you gotta be overly obsessed and overly crazy about what you're doing for you to be able to do it at a high level, be successful at it, and continue to be successful at other things. So I try to take that drive, that passion, and I can use that and when I'm doing real estate stuff, when I'm doing my streaming, when I'm working on my podcast, when I'm working on stuff. It's you gotta have that. There's a lot of people have talent and man probably rap better than me and stuff, but they don't have that. You know what I mean? Like yo, you crazy, bro? How you think that's gonna work? You know what I mean? Like I used to, bro. I would spend my last $100 on a Greyhound ticket to go to Atlanta to an open mic night. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, what you gonna eat? Where you gonna stay? How you gonna get back? I'll figure that out later. You know what I mean? So. You gotta be a little cuckoo.
Dude, I respect that so much.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I would love to talk a little bit about your creative process. I'm fascinated. Like I'm not a musician myself. I would love to hear like how do you I'm going to keep it open-ended. Like what's your process like? How do you get your inspiration? Like I'm curious, like how do lyrics or how do songs come about?
I find me a dope beat. I'll roll me up some God's finest vegetation.
Yeah.
And, I'll let it take me where it take me. You know what I mean? I might take me a square of a mushroom chocolate bar,
All
you
right.
know. And as I'm sitting there, my face is melting. I'm thinking of some dope stuff, you know what I mean? But like I was saying earlier, though, most times, like, all jokes aside, like I'll take a drive. Like I'll drive through the city. I'll, I go through so much different stuff that it's easy for me to have stuff to talk about. Because I'm not trying to pretend. Like I'm not trying to sing nobody else's life or whatever else they doing. It's like, I'm talking about, my stuff, an argument I might have just had or whatever I'm feeling or, you know what I'm saying? If I'm mad, I'm mad. If I'm sad, if I cried about something, if I'm hurt about something, if I'm, my music kind of, a lot of that, it drives my music. So my inspiration come from, just that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's my process. That's my recording process. I got to go through some shit and then I just need the beat, you know what I mean, and smoke one, and I'm all right.
So I mean, obviously, I'm sure like that. When anyone's listened to one of your albums, like that's a pretty good indication of like what you were actually going through at that time.
Yeah,
like what you're thinking
100%,
about.
Yeah,
which is awesome. Where I think like, not to name any names, but there's probably artists out there who are just like kind of forcing stuff just to get it out there.
Yeah,
right?
They just want to sell records, or they. That's where I think artists go wrong at trying to make the hit. Like they gonna love this in the club, man. This is a joint from the radio. They gonna love this. 9 times out of 10, it usually works out the opposite way. They usually hate it. That's the one they hated the most on the album. You know what I mean? So you don't go into it with that in your mind, with that mentality, man. You just go into it thinking of I know I do the art of it. I'm painting. It's like me. I got an empty canvas. I'm not trying to paint what I think. You know what I mean? People gonna come to the gallery and love. Yep. I'm just painting. You know what I mean?
Is it like it's super interesting? Is it like you're just like kind of making music all the time?
Yeah,
that's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
And it's not like maybe sometimes you're working on an album, but even if you're not, you're just still going through the process. Is that fair?
Usually, well, earlier on in my career, I would be like that. Okay. Now, more so, it's just I got so many different moving parts and so many different things that I have to handle that I don't really have the luxury of time to do that shit no more like that. So now it's mostly like, you know, once I got we working on the album, and I got the name of the album, and you know, I got the direction I want to go with this album as far as sonically. Now I know, okay, I'll go from there and just work and build the album out. You know what I mean?
I got it. Yep.
But it definitely was my thing, like a few years back, like before things got out of hand on my schedule. That's absolutely what I'll be on, like, you know, just recording. When
you're listening to a beat and you're going through like that creative process and you're writing out, you know, the lyrics to a song, I mean, you do a lot of collaborations with other artists.
Yeah.
How does that work? Are you like, when you're listening to it, are you thinking, ooh, like this person would be really good for it, or that person would be really good for it, or or is it just like, hey, I want to work with this person, let me let them listen to this? Like, how does that work?
Lately, mostly it's been like that. You know what I mean? It's been mostly, I think they'll sound ill on this one. Send this over, yo, Chad, send this to, you know, G Herbo. You know what I mean? So I kind of been doing it like that. But these is the same thing. The other part of your question, like, you know, what you said is definitely, these is artists that I want to work with. Like, that I hear, I know that we'll sound good together. You know, that I enjoy their shit. I listen to them myself. I'm a fan of them. And I also like trying different stuff, like different sounds too. So, you know, you'll hear me with, you know, like a G Herbo. You'll hear me with, you know, Jill Scott on the album, on a song. You'll hear me with Dej Loaf, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or you'll hear me with Ghostface. You know what I mean? It's just, I'm on different, you know, I never know what I'm on until I'm on it. You know what I'm saying?
Do you have a favorite song that you've produced?
My favorite song, if I only had to choose one, wow. That's tough.
It's okay if you don't. I just randomly thought about that. I'm wondering if you
I'll
do.
give you one of my favorites.
Okay.
Chanel Pearls with Jill Scott.
Okay.
Yeah, just everything about that record is just is very. I'm gonna have that in my heart for as long as I live, man. Jill is just such a beautiful person. She held us down. She was good to my guys. She just was good to me. We did the record. She was very insightful and helpful with, you know. She didn't just like do her part and send it. We were on the phone. She was just making sure, like, yo, nah, let's do this the right way. It was a no-brainer. She pulled up for the video, and
that's awesome.
Man, she just lit up the whole room, man. And I truly love Jill Scott, and that record right there is definitely one of my favorite all time. And Bang with Eminem, them probably be my two top.
That's awesome. What do you think is the hardest part about making an album? Because I think, you know, a lot of people listening have no clue how much time, energy, work goes into it. Well, like, what's the hardest part?
On the recording side, or
however you want to answer. I'm just curious, like, what like the hardest part of the process is.
Well, the hardest, it really ain't no hard part on the recording side, like getting it done. But now, once, like, I tell my artists, I tell people, you know, that's, you know, trying to get in this shit, like, you're not even halfway done. Once you're done recording and rapping the album, it still got to get mixed, mastered. We still got to clear these samples or whatever, pay these producers, do all that stuff. That's the hard part after you record. You know what I mean? That's the hardest part about making an album.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It costs a lot of money. You got to clear these samples. You got to, you know, pay, especially when you're dealing with different producers on an album. You know, that's why it's better to just work one guy on the whole album. If you got 5, 6 different producers, just 5, 6 different people that got to be paid.
Yeah.
They might have a co-producer or 2 or 3 who, you know, might have just came played 2 keys. He needed, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sample part, just the whole the business of it is the worst part of making an album.
Yeah, right. It's like you hear a lot of like really high level artists like yourself talk about that is like, you got into it obviously, and then you realize a lot like later on is like the business is part of it, right? You can't not deal with it, but it's tough, right?
It's tough. I ain't gonna lie. The business side, it could demoralize you and discourage you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's tough.
It's nasty, actually. You know what I mean? It's a nasty business.
Yeah, I get it. Best I can, anyways. Speaking of the business, I mean, Griselda Records. Can you talk about the origin of that, like how that came about?
Yeah, that was fun, man. That was fun. That was, out of Derringer living room. And shout out my man Monk. We recorded the first Hall and Nash joint. We recorded Hall and Nash. I forget what year, but that was the first tape that we recorded. The Hall and Nash one, and we recorded that at Camouflage Monk house. He was moving. It was like boxes and shit everywhere. That's how it started. Man.
And you did that with Westside Gunn and Benny the Butcher? Is that right?
Just West.
Just West?
Yeah.
Can you talk about like what made you do it? Like, why did you want to do it? Is it just like something new to do, a new challenge, or?
I was talked into it, honestly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This was right on the brinks of me recovering from getting shot. You know what I mean? I was actually still recovering.
Oh, wow.
I still had a bullet in my neck, lodged in my neck, like stuck. And, I remember I just got a call from West, like, bro, I need you, bro. Like, man, come to Atlanta. Let's just record, you know what I mean? And we recorded the Hall and Nash tape, man. And we kind of just, as we went along, like, yo, what you think if we call this Griselda record? I'm like, yeah, that's ill. And that's how it started.
Is Griselda, is it named after the Colombian drug lord?
I don't know. I'm not sure, honestly, man. You know what I mean? I was stoned. West came in there like, yo, I got it. What you think? What you think about the Griselda? Calling it Griselda. I'm like, let's do it.
I think so. Like one of my favorite documentaries is Cocaine Cowboys.
Yeah.
It's about
I saw it.
The cartels like in Miami.
Yeah.
And like they had like the baddest lady at the top was Griselda Blanco.
Griselda Blanco, that's
where my mind went. I was like, that's pretty badass.
Yeah.
I love that name.
No, I had a phone call, a DM about that. You know what I mean? From the Blanco family.
Oh man.
Yeah, but I had to explain like, oh, no. I know. No problemo.
Yeah, we have no problem. Change your name if you want.
Shout out to Mike, though, man. Michael, you know what I mean? The whole family, the Blanco family. Like I said, I'm not sure if that was the thinking and the direction, when West came up with the name. You know what I mean? So I can't say that was it, but I definitely, we definitely respect the family. We respect their family. We respect everything that they stand for. They're about. We super inspired by the story of Griselda Blanco and not even just the negative stuff they put in the media, but everything that come with it. And we've never like put like her image or none of that in our music. We never really monetized off of it. I know I haven't. I don't think Wes ever used anything with depicting her image or anything in a negative way or anything. And there's always just been the utmost respect. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
definitely.
What was it like growing up with Wes? I mean, I know you grew up with obviously Benny too. I mean, it's kind of nuts that the three of you have all had the type of careers that you've had. Growing up together. Were you guys always close, or how did that kind of?
Yeah, just rapping in the basement and stuff.
That's awesome.
Rapping in the basement on karaoke machines and stuff, and it was before Benny was even rapping and knew how to rap or anything. He's 9, 10 years old or something like that. But it's pretty much it. Just that's how it started at Graham's house, recording on a karaoke.
You gotta be crazy thinking back to those days and then thinking like where you've gone now.
Every time I ride down Wellington, I think about those days.
Yeah.
That's where Gramps lived, on Wellington and Linden or something like that. And yeah, man. Every time I ride down the street, I think about that. Like, yeah, I used to be in here. It's crazy going from recording and stuffing tissue in a tape deck and dubbing over it to recording in the studio with Eminem. You know what I mean?
That's gotta be so crazy.
Signed to, doing business with Jay-Z and Roc Nation and stuff like that. Is like it's insane. Having my own record label, it's insanity.
So you're talking about earlier, you're as a younger man, like you're running around, you have your tapes, like you're trying to get it out there, right?
Yeah.
Now I got to imagine you got people all the time coming to you with their stuff. Like how does that work? I mean, like, do you have a method of like, are you trying to go out and identify like artists or bring it into the label? Like how does that work?
Not anymore. No. Nah. Working with up and coming artists, I'm gonna be real, it sucks.
Why is that?
Because they don't know nothing about how the business work. Up and coming newer artists, especially from relatively small cities and neighborhood poverty and all that, they kind of ignorant, not like in a negative, but like just they don't know how this shit work, what to expect out of it, and they're incredibly impatient.
Okay, yeah.
So they don't understand that, one thing about, just being in the music business, and particularly the rap game, I'm sure it's like that in every genre, but I can speak from just the hip-hop perspective. It's a patient man's game.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I didn't get signed until I was 33. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yep. I was rapping and battling and had albums and stuff at 15 years old. You know what I mean? I could have cried. What if I crashed out at 16, 17? Why ain't nobody? What that would have got me. It's a patient man game. They say it take 10 years to even become an overnight success in this field. So, you got to just keep grinding, keep working. And I know that I'm still on my journey. I'm still recording and producing albums, and I have obligations contractually and stuff with deals I've done and things like that. Like, and even with this drum work stuff up to this point, like I sat in the back seat and put my stuff in the back seat to kind of help push artists. And once I start feeling like there's a level of gratefulness, or it's becoming a collision. Like I try to step away. You know what I mean?
100%.
And I just feel like now, as I'm looking at it, I just don't feel like I'm doing any artist that I could be dealing with any justice, because I got to put 100% focus in what I'm doing now. Yep. You know what I'm saying? I'm not done yet. So when I'm done, maybe I could, try to, because I don't got time to, if you already had it going, then okay, we can partner up, we can do something and stuff. But I don't have time to really do the artist development or educate you on the business or none of that stuff. Like, and pay for everything and all that. Like, I ain't got time for that.
I get that. You also strike me as somebody who, like, you're not doing it unless you're 100% in on it.
Yeah. You ain't in, and that's the thing. They're not 100%. And they see, oh, man, you got an album, you shooting videos, cameras, oh, you doing a podcast, you man, put me on. And you do that, and you realize quick, you don't want to. It's almost like I use a lot of sports references when people be like, yeah, you want to go to the NFL till you get hit one time. Yeah. Now you rethinking, like, man, is this what I want to do?
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, there's a saying, right? It's like overnight success takes a hell of a long time.
Oh, yeah.
And people just don't understand the journey and what it takes. Like you said, buying the bus ticket to Atlanta to go into a rap battle and figuring out later, like, it's people don't get it.
It's tough, man. You have to do that. And nothing might not come from that. That was 10 years. That was probably, when that story right there is probably like, 03, maybe sooner than that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it don't stop. You know what I mean? Even now, man, it don't stop, man. And I don't have the patience. I said it's a patient man game, but I don't got the patience to deal with that with no become an artist.
I get that.
Man.
Can you talk a little bit about Drumwork? I mean, obviously, I see your chain, which is awesome. Can you talk a little bit about the project?
Yeah, so Drumwork is, the company I started to just kind of, when I started the Drumwork Music Group, it wasn't for me to, like, I was looking for artists or I was fishing. Okay, I'm just building a house, for talent and scouting talent. It was really for me to kind of make sure that everything that I'm doing with musically is protected and secured, and through my channel, like I'm just on some ownership shit. You know what I mean? Like I did some deals that wasn't in my favor, in this. So it's like now that was just a way for me to put myself in the driver's seat, to where I could just, I want my publishing, I want to own it, I want my everything is just filtered through my own channel. You know what I mean? And but we was able to, we got some guys with us, man. That's incredible. You know what I mean? We about to drop a project on my brother Goose, by the way, in April. He got a single dropping next month though, March 13th or something like that. My homeboy Jay Skis, he just dropped a single I'll say last Friday.
Okay.
Jay Ski, both of them is rooted straight from Buffalo.
Oh, awesome.
Then I got another artist, Corey Kendricks. He actually my DJ too, but he incredible artist. He based out of Denver, but he's from Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he you know what I mean. He's like my Swiss Army knife, white guy, but you know what I mean, with the gold teeth, and he just like the coolest dude I ever met. One of them. You know what I mean?
That's awesome. Yeah.
His music slap, bro. His music is out of this world. So I'm excited to see what we do with him. It's a couple other members and stuff like that, but right now we're just trying to make sure that we get everything we need, all the resources that we need to help facilitate what they're trying to do going forward.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. You got a lot going on. Like, what is a day in the life like for you? I mean, you're juggling a lot.
Bro. Like, I wake up, smoke, bake. I'm on the phone calling, harassing Chad for an hour or two. Like, yo, ain't nothing to discuss? What's going on? You know what I mean? I'm writing, I'm listening to beats for as long as I can, try to work out. Then I'm streaming for a couple of hours. Then I'm filming for the podcast. I'm working on that. I'm in and out of like the camera store and stuff, trying to buy lights and tools and stuff to set up my space and you know what I mean? My sons and stuff. Got my kid, my son doing music, you know what I mean? And I just be having to coach him.
Yeah.
And then I might have a little time later to do some sports betting.
All right. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I know we were talking about sports before we started. I know you caught that Team USA gold medal game, right?
USA.
That's right. Shout out to Tage Thompson.
Yeah, Tage Thompson. My man Darlin. Yo, that's crazy. When I signed my deal with Roc Nation, I had the Darlin jersey on. You know what I mean? He hurried up and followed me and reposted it like, yo, love, bro.
That's awesome. I know we were talking about it. We're like, the Sabres, man, they make the playoffs, right?
Yeah, they got to do it.
They're going to do it. I think you mentioned earlier, too, and I'm sorry I didn't know more about this, but I think you said you have a charity or something you do for people in the community.
The Conway Cares Foundation is, a charity I started, I want to say, back in 2022, 23, something like that. Basically, it's just, set up for me to just, do different things and events and different give back and philanthropy opportunities for like, we did some stuff with during COVID-19 with the NFTA workers, where we went through there and just, little gestures, little coffee, some donuts, some sandwiches and stuff.
That's awesome.
We went down to City Mission, some pizza, Lenovo's, and just fed everybody. I enjoy doing things with and for like underprivileged kids or kids that's like, dealing with medical unfortunate situations that they, need to be cheered up, need to be, not feel like not forgotten about and show some love, some hope and some, you know what I mean?
Yeah, hell yeah.
So that's really what I built. I built that for that, you know what I mean?
It's awesome, man. You could tell like you really care about, the community and giving back. That's pretty awesome.
Man, I love Buffalo, dog. You know what I mean?
What do you love the most about Buffalo?
The weather.
Yeah. Tell me more.
I was joking. The weather sucks. But yeah, nah, man, I love the city, dog. The food, the weather. You know what I mean? The city, just everything about it, man.
Do you think you'd be the rapper you are today if you weren't from Buffalo? If like you were from like Atlanta or LA?
No.
Why is that?
I would have been because, man, I would have been so easy for me to find other things, another path, another lane for me to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Get distracted and, have a different passion. Like growing up in Buffalo, I feel like, I ain't really have no other options. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like I said, I dropped out of the 10th grade, in and out of jail, the streets. It was, for me, my only option was I had to make it with this rap stuff, or I was gonna be a drug kingpin. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or be sitting up doing 20 years, 30 years right now, or worse. So, I'm glad I was here in Buffalo because being from Buffalo developed me the resilience. It made me the man I am. You know what I mean? It made me how I am in different situations and stuff. You know what I mean? That, you may face and stuff, how to stand tall and be resilient in that. I feel like that's something that, Buffalo, that's in the Buffalo DNA. You know what I mean? That level of resilience.
Yeah, we get through those tough winters and we help each other out and we just keep grinding.
We help each other. We there for each other. We all that, you know what I mean? No matter how bad the situation may look or the weather or whatever, we hold it down and we get through it. And I think I developed that by being a Buffalonian, you know what I mean? Had I been from somewhere like Atlanta or LA, New York, somewhere where the resources is plentiful, I feel like I might have... I feel like I would have probably played around. You know what I mean?
I get what you mean.
Like, cause when it's like, you know what I mean? When it's plenty of food, you nitpicking at this little or that. You know what I'm saying? But a hungry man under the bridge, a bucket of chicken look like a Michelin 3-star meal.
Yep, 100%.
And you're gonna treat it like that. Like you're gonna save it. You're gonna protect it. You're gonna cherish it. And that's what I feel like I wouldn't have been able to do in these bigger cities. I would have got distracted.
Yeah,
you know
I get that.
And gave up quicker. When I went through what I went through, it would have been easier for me to just quit and not care.
I appreciate you kind of bringing up, you're talking about, you making, I never everyone's done this, right? It's just to different degrees for different people. You made some mistakes early on and you realize like, hey, I'm at like a crossroads. Like I could either go down this path and maybe end up this way, or I'm going to go down, or I can go down this way.
Yeah.
And I got to imagine like that, like this path you chose was probably even like the harder one, right? In terms of, right?
It was.
Was there a moment that you just realized, like almost like you snapped out of it and you're like, I have to do this. I can't go back this way. Like, I'm just curious.
So after I got shot, and we had the song, we had some albums out. We had, I want to say Wes had his first mixtape out, and I think we had Hall and Nash, and I had another project out, I think. I don't know, but I was just really starting to, I was still on like a walker, on a cane and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was just so when this shit happened, I'm in the hospital. Like I kind of lost everything, like all my money, everything. So I jumped right back into the drugs, selling drugs and shit. You know what I mean? And I remember I was trying to just being greedy, wanting the money. It was late night, Saturday night. It's probably like 12:30 at night, 1 o'clock on May Street. At that hour, it's not a soul. Not even no cars drive down the street. Ain't nobody out there but us, type stuff. But this night wasn't nobody out there, and I had some somebody who a custody I maybe served maybe 2-3 other times before that. He wanted to see me like, yo, pull up on me. He pulled up. And I had my little brother Fredo help me down the stairs, and I walked up the street. It's like 2-3 houses down from me is abandoned houses, and they pull up, and they ride past me. I'm calling like, yo, y'all boys ain't got y'all lights on. Y'all roll past me. I'm right here. Oh, my bad. He turned around, come back, but I knew now looking back, they saw me. they was just checking, peeping the scene. Turn around, come back. I walk up to the car, like, why y'all ain't got y'all lights on? And somebody hopped out the back seat with an AK and just like right in my face, gunpoint. Hurry up, give me the chain. Take off, give it. Just took her, he robbed the shit out of me. And after that, I knew like, yeah, it's over. I gotta do this rap shit crazy, or I'm about to paint the town red. You know what I mean? And I didn't like that energy, and I just when I went to Atlanta, and start doing that, cooking up that classic.
Love it, dude. That's awesome. Out of curiosity, when you're freestyling, like you're talking about like rap battles and stuff, are you thinking about, like, I've always thought about this, are you thinking about lyrics in advance before you go in, or does it just come to you and just like come flying out of your mouth?
Freestyling?
Yeah.
That's my cheat code of freestyle, and I've already thought of about, so I'm able to improv real good. I've noticed, like when rapping and stuff, I can think of stuff quick on the spot. So if I'm going into a freestyle, like a cipher or something, I've already thought of the first 2 to 4 bars,
Sure.
And then I just build from there, and it's easy for me to improv once I got that first line or 2. You know what I mean? But I definitely pre-think.
I've watched some of yours, and I'm just like, I don't know how he does that. Like that's why that's such an amazing skill. Like it's very, like for people like me in my position, like it's like we were watching it, like I don't know how you do that. That's amazing.
It's tough because I'm thinking of the next line before I even say the line before it. Like I'm already thinking of the next couple lines.
I bet that's kind of prepared you for podcasting.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, because you got to think about, like, what I want to talk about next, right?
Right. You got to be quick on the draw with that. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, that's definitely got me ready for this podcast journey. You know what I mean? We only did like 1 or 2 episodes so far. We still learning, still getting it together. We just seeing what more we need, what pieces we need, what gear we need to still get, stuff like that, location. Right now I'm just doing it out my basement, but it's gonna come along.
There's a guy sitting next to you who knows a little bit about that.
Yeah,
I mean, I wouldn't be able to do this without Brett. I mean, like we figured this all. I mean, he figured it all out, not me. But I think it's fun, right? You get to talk to awesome people.
Yeah, man.
Have great conversations. You just kind of figure it out as you go.
Yeah, it's dope, man. I think it's great. It's a great new. I think the podcasting and the streaming thing being introduced to the world is the best thing since the cordless telephone.
Yeah. It's funny how like it's such a raw, like human thing that we just want to listen to conversations.
Yeah, that's
But it's awesome, right? It's very simple.
Awesome. You get to hear something or you get something from a convo. You know, if you listening, you get something from it. You get some jewels, you get some gems, especially with when you have guests on and you get to probably get a nugget of info about that person that you didn't know. Like, wow, I didn't know that. You know what I mean? Like, so that's cool. I love listening to podcasts, man.
Yeah, me too. What's maybe something about you that you think maybe people don't know that you wish they knew?
That I prefer to be left alone and don't call my phone. It seems like they don't get it. I wish y'all knew that, but it's like y'all don't get it. So,
are you more introverted, like to be alone kind of thing?
Super.
It's so fascinating because like a lot of people, whether they're really like high level famous like artists like you or CEOs of big companies, a lot of them are introverted.
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't know that because it looks like they want to be out there, they want to be, but it's actually they want their private time, right?
Yeah. They probably in the morning when they wake up having their coffee, they gotta like go in the mirror, put on their game face, like, all right,
here we go.
Gotta go out here in the world.
And then you come back home and you're exhausted.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. My social battery is depleted.
Oh
at that point.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, trust me, I get that big time. How would you maybe describe the Buffalo rap game versus like Atlanta versus LA? Do you think there's something that makes it different?
No. Nah.
Just maybe different sources of inspiration.
Yeah, just sonically, you know what I'm saying? Like different places, they got their own different sound. Like the Bay Area has their sound. Atlanta, you know, and pretty much the South, you know, Texas with the screwed up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everybody got their sound, you know what I'm saying? But it's the same thought into it, going in there and pop your shit and get a hard beat and go crazy.
What excites you the most about maybe the future? Is there anything you're really looking forward to? Maybe is this year, next year? I'm just kind of curious, like what's exciting you the most right now?
Honestly, I'm excited to see, like, so my son has been dabbling in music and stuff, like I said earlier. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he do, man, where he take it to.
That's gonna be really cool to watch.
Yeah. So that's what I'm looking forward to in the future.
That's awesome. What's your son's name? What does he go by?
Silver.
Silver?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Silver Price.
All right. To round things out here at the end here, we just do some fun stuff.
Okay.
Rapid fire. What's your favorite Buffalo restaurant?
Salvatore's.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have a go-to dish there?
Probably I'll get a nice tomahawk. I go with my family, so we just get like a couple of tomahawks sliced up and some a la carte slides.
That's the way to do it.
The Langston Team Cups is crazy. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's maybe something that people don't know about Buffalo, like from the outside, that you think they should know?
Man, that's a good question. It's a shithole.
Don't come here.
I don't know. Let me think about that. I'm gonna use the bathroom right quick.
Oh, you're good.
That's a good question. What would you say, Chad?
We could probably end it on that note, to be honest, because I was basically done anyways. We were laughing. We're like, we should just end it there because that was like a great walk off.
Yeah.
Do you want to answer the question, or you want to leave it?
I was in there thinking. I couldn't still think.
You want to just leave it there?
I think we're good.
I kind of like it. I think it's great, right? All right, cool. We're good, man. This is awesome.
All right, man.
I appreciate you, man.
Thank you, dog.
Thanks, man.
Great meeting y'all, man.